guys, you ready to talk about Cyrano? For today, you were to have started Act 4, reading pages 463 to 470. So let's talk about what happens in Act 4. So when Act 4 opens, we are at the battlefield. So we're with the cadets and the regiment, Cyrano's and Christian's regiment. So when the act opens, you would see tents like scattered about and weapons and campfire, and you would see all the soldiers are sleeping, except for Lebret. Remember, that's Cyrano's best friend, and Carbone, who is the captain. They are watching, right? They are kind of, it's their turn to keep watch. Okay, so they're up and everybody else is sleeping, and so they're kind of looking around at the soldiers, and they're seeing how horrible it is, and that they're all starving because they've been here for a while now, and they're also hungry. They're running out of food, and so they're talking about this. And then you have this sentry soldier that's keeping guard, and you hear him say, "Halt! Who goes there?" Right? He hears somebody coming, and you hear a voice saying, "Bergerac." And then you hear him saying again, "Halt, who goes?" And you hear it, "Bergerac, you idiot." It's Cyrano. He's like, "It's me, stupid. Didn't you hear me the first time?" So he's like, "Bergerac, you idiot." And so he's like, and so Lebret sees him coming, and Lebret says, "You are coming again?" And Cyrano's like, "Shh, like, be quiet. Don't wake everybody up." And Lebret's like, "Are you wounded?" And he's like, "No, I'm fine. They always miss me." Um, and Lebret's like, "You know what? You're crazy," because Lebret knows what he's doing. He's like, "You risk your life every morning before breakfast just to go send a letter." So what Cyrano is doing is, remember the promise that he made at the end of Act 3 that he would have Christian write to Roxanne every day. So what Cyrano's been doing is he's been writing a letter every day, pretending it's from Christian, and then he's been sneaking every night past the enemy lines to get the letter to where it can be delivered, and then he sneaks back, okay, before sunrise, right? So he comes back in, and Lebret's saying, "You're crazy. You're risking your life every day just so that you can deliver this letter." And he's like, "Well, I promised that he would write every single day." So he's like, I have to keep my promise. So Lebret says, "All right, go get some sleep now." And he's like, "Oh, stop growling. Don't worry about me. The way I get through the Spanish lines, because that's who they're fighting, the way I get through the Spanish lines every night is I just wait until they're drunk, and then it's easy for me to get through and to come back." And Lebret's like, "Well, you could at least bring some food with you, because they're all starving." And Cyrano's like, "Well, I have to travel light. I can't take food, bring food back with me." And so anyway, he starts to go, Cyrano does, and Lebret's like, "Hey, where are you going?" And he's like, "Well, I'm going to write another letter." So Cyrano goes into his tent so that he can write another letter. Well, we see that the sun is starting to rise, and so we hear a cannon shot, and we start hearing drums. So we know that there's probably another battle is going to be happening here soon. So the officers kind of start to stir, and everybody starts to wake up. The captain hears the drums, and the cadets start to wake up and sit up, and they all start complaining about how hungry they are. "We're starving. We're hungry." They all start complaining about that. So the captain goes to Cyrano. He's like, "Hey, Cyrano, come out here. Can you talk to the guys? You know how to get them smiling." And so he wants Cyrano to come out and start, just talking to them, kind of distract them from their hunger, and just kind of entertain them. So Cyrano comes out, and he starts talking to them a little bit, trying to get them to laugh and get their mind off their hunger a little bit. And then he sees one of the cadets, one of the soldiers who plays one of the instruments, plays like the pipe, and he says, "Hey, why don't you come and play a song for us?" So he gets out his instrument, he starts playing a song, and all the men get very quiet because it's like a melancholy song, and it starts reminding them of home. And so it just gets real quiet as they listen to that. And some of them actually start crying, and the captain says to Cyrano, "You're making them cry." And he's like, "Yes, but at least they're crying from homesickness now, not from hunger," right? They're not thinking about how hungry they are. They're thinking about how they miss their home and their families. And so Cyrano's like, "Yes, now it's their hearts that are starving." And so um, they're listening, and then they hear the drum, and then the captain's like, "Oh, you're making them like the tears that they're crying is kind of a melting down their manhood." And Cyrano's like, "Don't worry about it. They're still going to be tough. All you have to do is play the drum." So he gets the drum and starts beating on the drum, and sure enough, that kind of brings them out of it. So he's like, "Don't worry about it." Well, then a third cadet looks and he sees someone coming. Guess who it is? Monsieur, right? De Guiche. All right, he is coming to look at his cadets. Now, of course, none of them like him, right? They're all starving and poor and hungry, and he's coming. And even though he might be hungry too, but he's got on this belt with all these jewels, he's coming in here looking all fancy, and they don't care for him at all. So he's making his way there, and Cyrano says to everybody, "Hey, we don't want him to see us looking miserable. So quickly, like, look like we're having fun because he doesn't want to give De Guiche the satisfaction of seeing Cyrano and Christian and all the other cadets in the regiment feeling terrible and being sad and homesick and hungry. He doesn't want to give them that satisfaction. So he's like, come on, guys, look like you're having a good time, right? And so everybody kind of gets up and looks like they're, playing games and having a good time. And that's where we ended, okay? So for Monday, you're going to read pages 470, starting in 470 with scene 4, read 470 through 477, and see what happens. How does the conversation go between De Guiche and the cadets, and what's going on, what's going to happen with the battle coming up. So read 470 to 477 for Monday, and we will talk about it then. Enjoy your weekend.